I want you to imagine, if you will, that one day Bill Cosby comes up to you and starts giving you a lecture on how to properly treat a woman. Or that Bill Belichick, coach of the Patriots, tries to get you in trouble for cheating in a sport. The irony or hypocrisy would probably baffle you to your limits. Well, now we can add Lizzo to this list of hypocrites because famous overweight woman Lizzo is now being sued by her former employees and backup dancers for fat shaming, SA, and having an extremely hostile work environment. What's going on, big dogs? SG Leo here, and in today's video, we'll be looking into Lizzo's lawsuit scandal and the absurd irony behind it. So sit back, relax, and let's dig into this. Alright guys, so the queen of fat acceptance has been put under fire for the last week or so and is being called out for doing to her employees what she has said is so wrong and terrible to do. 3 of Lizzo's former dancers have accused the singer of sexual harassment and creating a hostile work environment in a lawsuit filed Tuesday, August 1st. First off, it is important to know who we are talking about. So Lizzo, for those of you who don't know, is supposed to be a singer, rapper, songwriter, and is actually more well known for speaking out against fat acceptance and speaking about the body positivity movement than she is about any of her songs. She loves to talk about how you can be beautiful and healthy at any size. She has long been part of this movement, and I am one who believes if it wasn't for her presence in the body positivity movement that she honestly wouldn't be very famous. Her music definitely isn't that great and tends to only be popular for a very few select women, and we all know the ones I'm talking about. And because of her being very vocal about her body and how she is, without a shadow of the doubt, the most beautiful person ever, which, fellas, if your girl, or a girl you know, says that Lizzo is a queen and beautiful, just tell them that they look just like her and see how they react. Normally, they don't exactly enjoy being told that they look like this beached whale, but anyways, it appears that Lizzo isn't exactly the most body positivity person after all. In fact, it turns out that she is an absolutely awful and terrible person as a whole. Now, if you've ever heard any of Lizzo's songs, this probably doesn't really surprise you. But this news of her not only fat-shaming her dancers, but outright harassing them and forcing them to do sexual things, honestly even shocks me. So let's start with the small stuff and move on to the more damning accusations and claims. So this is from NBC, and the article will be linked down below. So, quote, "The suit accuses Lizzo of calling attention to the dancer's weight after an appearance at a South by Southwest, or SXSW, music festival. The singer and her choreographer later told the dancer, Ariana Davis, that she seemed less committed to her role, a comment the suit described as a thinly veiled concern about Davis's weight." So Lizzo and her team were basically telling all of her dancers, not just this Davis girl, that they were just getting too big, and because they were getting so big, they must not be committed to the team. Now, for Lizzo to say someone is getting too big, the comedy writes itself. Let's be real here. I would ask O.J. Simpson for family therapy advice before I ask Lizzo about if I'm too big or how to lose weight. I mean, come on. But I don't know, maybe she just didn't want someone to be bigger than her. I mean, she probably just got a little jealous that someone else can eat the entire McDonald's menu faster than she can. In all reality, we can see the hypocrisy here, right? There is no reason for her to bring up her dancer's weight. That's Lizzo's entire brand. Be bigger than Shamu, healthy at all sizes, and this isn't even the worst of it. It honestly gets so much worse. I honestly don't see her getting in trouble from anyone, other than all the Twitter mob people for calling somebody fat, but the bigger kicker for her here is the honest, clear abuse of her employees. So when it comes to this entire lawsuit, the big story isn't the fat shaming. The fat shaming is funny and hypocritical, and so everybody on Twitter and the news is pointing this out. However, what I think we should all really be focusing on and talking about is much more what is alleged she forced her workers to do. So apparently, one night while Lizzo and her team were in Amsterdam, they decided to head down to the red light district. So for those of you who don't know what the red light district is, it is basically a massive strip club. It is this kind of area you see in the movies. They have full nude clubs, VIP back rooms, hookers, strippers, and all that other jazz. Drugs, alcohol, whatever you want is probably there. It's just a nasty, dirty, scrummy place. And Lizzo thought it would be a fun idea to bring her team of dancers and bouncers and whatever to one of these clubs. And right there, that already sounds like a massive HR nightmare, just to bring your employees to a strip club. Like, I get that's kind of part of her brand is that she's kind of like for less of a better word, she's basically a slut. That's kind of part of her brand. She's just this big, supposed to be beautiful at any size who can bang all the dudes. That's kind of like her brand. And even then, I feel like her HR team was probably like, why are you doing this? And it was while in one of these clubs, Lizzo apparently had one of her dancers inappropriately touch one of the strippers, despite the dancer saying no several times. So apparently Lizzo was egging her on, telling her, touch her, ha ha ha, touch her. And then apparently once she finally did touch this performer or stripper, whatever you want to call them, all the other people in the booth with them started laughing at her and joking at her that she touched a boob or whatever it was. And although that sounds bad, almost forcing somebody to touch a nude individual, it gets so much worse. Apparently, while in Paris, they went to another district area like that, and at the club, Lizzo apparently had her performers or her backup dancers catch dildos from the strippers' vaginas and eat a banana from another stripper's vagina. In fact, an NBC article reads, at the club, Lizzo allegedly began inviting cast members to take turns touching the nude performers, catching dildos launched from the performers' vaginas, and eating bananas protruding from the performers' vaginas, the suit says. So clearly, Miss Perfect Queen Beautiful is in all actuality just a massive piece of shit. Who would have thought? If you've ever listened to any of her songs, you probably could have figured this out. Because in all of her songs, all she talks about is how perfect and awesome and wonderful she is, and then all she does on Twitter all day is talk about how everybody else who says she's ugly or fat or overweight or that her music is bad, she sits there and shames them and tells them about how she's a bad bitch, you can't kill me, that type of crap. Now, this has all been confirmed by several others at this point, and none of this is looking good for Lizzo at all at the very moment. Like, do you guys understand how sick and twisted you have to be, or how full of yourself you have to be to just not think about making somebody do something so disgusting, but to actively force them to do something like this? Because apparently she has such an ego problem and anger issue that her backup dancers have actually chosen to piss their pants during rehearsals over fear of Lizzo firing them. So all the dancers basically in this suit are alleging that the reason they even acted in this way is because when they have talked back to Lizzo, when they have brought up concerns to Lizzo or her team, they tend to get fired. So basically, if you work for Lizzo, you just have to do what she says or you no longer have a job, which is just round of applause for Lizzo, honestly. That's how you run a company right there. Do what I tell you or you're fired. I don't care if it's the most degrading, terrible, awful thing I can put you through, like eating a banana from a stripper's vagina. You better do it, or you're not going to have a job. Just absolute disgusting. So clearly Lizzo is just an absolute class act. I mean, she played a glass flute once, and she wears very small clothes as a very large individual. So that just makes her perfect in every way. You know, when you look like an exploding can of dough and shoved into a bikini, you know, it's really attractive, right? And you can't talk crap about her when she looks like that, you know? She's just so perfect and beautiful in every way, shape, or form. Now, there is one good thing that I have been seeing about this entire situation, and that is that almost zero people are even defending her anymore at this point. As more and more of these accusations have come out, and more former employees or even current ones have come forward to talk about how awful she is, less and less people are even trying to defend her. Lots of people have quit streaming her music, and several big artists, like, I'm pretty sure it was Beyonce, I could be wrong, it might have been Rihanna, it was one of those two, actually have name-dropped Lizzo in one of their songs prior. And they are now replacing her name in those songs, which is great to see. It's really good to see that people are fighting back against this. And this is why when I talk about cancel culture at all, the people who are very behind it, like Lizzo, she's very behind. As soon as somebody talks bad about her, she's all about getting them canceled, getting them taken off Twitter, making their music not streamable, having their YouTube channels taken. She's all for that stuff. And behind the scenes, she is just as bad. She is just as terrible. But since she's bigger and talks about body positivity, nobody says anything for a long time because she's supposed to be this untouchable god, this queen, this person that everyone is supposed to worship. And honestly, at the end of the day, this whole thing actually really reminds me of like the Ellen DeGeneres work environment that got her canceled. Only this is 10 times worse. Because sure, Ellen was a bitch and was very rude and mean and demanding of her employees. And you kind of felt like you were walking on thin ice the whole time if you worked for her. But to everyone's knowledge, Ellen was never making her employees do disgusting acts like this. Like, this is just such another level of being a total piece of crap that it's just hard to explain. Like, the stuff she made them do is something you would see in like a South Park episode or like a dark joke in some weird TikTok animated film or something like that. Like, this is stuff that is only in films that is supposed to get like a kick out of people, except she is actually actively forcing people or threatening their jobs at the very least to do these things, which is just the worst. But anyways, guys, that's all I have for you today. Let me know what you think down below about this entire situation. Remember to please leave a like down below if you did enjoy the video. Comment down below what you'd like to see me cover next. Subscribe if you haven't already, and go check me out on all my socials, which will be in the description below. Thank you all for your time, and until the next video, guys, Godspeed.
I lost my best friend to 23. She left her body in Harvard above me.